Hello and welcome to the Kratom Sobriety Podcast. This is episode 125. I'm here with Desiree. How are you doing, Desiree?
I'm doing amazing.
Did you want to talk a little bit about the interview we have coming up?
Yeah, so this week's interview is with Eren. It's episode 125. I was so excited to hear Eren's name because I know him from the Quitting Kratom community, from the WhatsApp support group. He's actually one of the first people that had reached out when I came in, and he's just been around and just so supportive, always just has words of just encouragement and just very giving of his time and his support and care.
It's going to be great. I'm excited to listen. I can't wait to get into it.
I'm excited to talk about this intro and the topic, and I like this topic. It's a really interesting one considering it's a very common behavior in a lot of our stories.
Yeah, we were just talking about how hiding Kratom constantly from loved ones, from friends, family has such an impact on the quality of your life. And I know that it's something that affected the both of us. So I think it's something we wanted to talk about today.
Yeah. To share a little bit of my experience with that, I work as a substance abuse counselor. So the behavior of hiding my usage it was so overwhelming that it made me feel even more imprisoned because I obviously was hiding this huge secret, right? Like from work, from family, from friends. It was just something so like I had to control, hide, and it was just so much work and energy that it kept me in that cycle even more. It was very draining and just time consuming, like going, yeah, like going out to dinner or going out like grocery shopping with a family or doing anything, right? Like I had to, okay, or making up any excuse to go to the car or like making up any excuse to go to the bathroom or like any excuse to hide my usage. And it was so time consuming and it was horrible.
How does it feel now that you don't have to do that anymore? Obviously, great.
Yes, great. And it's like the word that I can describe it as is freedom. Like it's just freedom. I can go to the store and not have to worry about this constant thing in the back of my mind. It's like freedom.
That's a really good way to describe it. I was having dinner with some neighbors the other day, and I just remember thinking about 4 hours into the dinner, thank goodness I don't have to get up, run into the bathroom, be worried about not having it on me for the entire dinner. Because when I was using heavily, I was hiding it from everybody. Nobody knew about it, and it was super debilitating. And every time I would go out with friends, or obviously I get a huge headache when I drink alcohol, so I don't go out to clubs or bars anymore. But whenever I did, it would completely take away from any fun I would have. It just added this entire extra layer of fear and worry to the whole evening. And when I was sitting down at that dinner the other night, I just went, this is so great. I don't have to worry about having it. I don't have to worry about interrupting the amazing conversation I'm having with these people. And it just made the entire evening feel so much better.
Yeah. You know what? I will say work is that's like a huge part of my day, right? I spend 8 hours a day at work and I can sit through work and not have to worry about breaks and lunches and running like a maniac to the store, like sneaking out at times. Like, I don't have to worry about any of that. Like, I can go into work, do what I have to do, and I'm just free. Yeah, I think work has been the most like impactful like place where I see that difference.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I'm sure you were like me in that when you were going to the bathroom so often throughout the day, people just went, does this man have a medical condition that makes him go to the bathroom so much? And I go to the bathroom as much as any other guy now, which is, I never obviously bring that up as a conversation starter because it's just not that much fun to talk about. But it's so nice. I remember when I was in New York, I worked in a corporate office. Everyone was wearing suits, and I felt so out of place. I'd wear this puffy jacket, and I had my Kratom with me in one of the pockets of the puffy jacket. And one day, my boss asked me, "Why do you keep that puffy jacket on all the time?" And I lied to him, and I felt so bad about it. And I said, "Oh, I keep it on for lumbar support." And I don't have to lie anymore about any of that stuff. And
Mhm.
it just feels so, so good.
Yes, wow, that's so crazy because those little behaviors, like even what we wear, like becomes just entangled into our addiction of, okay, we have to wear this to keep it on me at all times, and it's just even a jacket.
The jacket. Thank you for joining me, Desiree. Everyone out there, stay strong. Whether or not you're a new quitter, you haven't decided to quit yet, listen to the episodes that we've come out with, try and find some inspiration in those and stay strong. But until next time, thank you, Desiree. Of
Yes, thank you, Nolan.
course.
Welcome to the Kratom Sobriety Podcast. This is Jacob, and today on the podcast, I have Eren. Eren, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I just celebrated my 3-year wedding anniversary, and I just celebrated 60 days off of Kratom. So, doing pretty well.
That's awesome. Congrats on both of those milestones. 3 years is great for marriage, and 60 days of Kratom is awesome in its own right. So, Eren, how would you like to introduce yourself to the audience? Things like your age, your profession, do you have a family, where you live, anything like that?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Aaron. I'm 34. I've been married for 3 years, but with my partner for 12 years. I am an obsessed dog dad, for lack of better words. In fact, you guys on the show can't see this, but you can see this, Jacob. I've
I
got
can see
this
it.
best pit
Best
bull
pit
dad
bull.
ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I come from a super large and very blended and complicated family that I love dearly. And I am a postdoctoral scholar, which is just a way of saying that I do research, and I'm soon to be an incoming assistant professor in July.
Awesome. Sounds like you got a lot going on. What do you do for fun when you're not raising the pit bulls and doing the research?
So I am, especially recently, I've gotten really into powerlifting. So I started doing a program and training for that. And that's something I really enjoy.
Oh,
Hiking
cool.
is another thing I really like to do, and I play a lot of basketball and kayak. And I have too many hobbies. Like I play instruments. So it's just, I don't have enough time for them. So that's a good problem to have, I guess. But
Yeah, I hear you. I have quite a few hobbies myself. I like hiking. I like snow sports. I like all that stuff and music and various other things. And yeah, it gets to be a bit much. All right, we're gonna do what we came here to do, which isn't always the funnest part, but it's important that we talk about this stuff. So, when was your kratom abstinence date? You said 60 days, so that's about
yeah, it's early December.
early
My
December. Okay.
Yeah, I could see your brain was churning that you were going to get there. But it's
I would have got there.
you would have, yeah, totally. My abstinence date is December 9th, 2024.
Okay, great.
And we'll probably get into this later, but I tried to quit for a full, like 2024 was like a year of trying to quit.
Okay. All right, before we get there, how did you first encounter kratom, and do you have any history with substance abuse or anything like that?
So I'll start with the substance abuse. I do have a history of substance abuse. I am
Okay.
6 years sober off of alcohol as of December 11th.
Oh, that's awesome. I just
Yeah,
hit 6 years of sober off of alcohol as of January 23rd of this year, so we're very close.
we're super close. That's
Yeah.
cool. Ah,
Yeah. Yeah.
congratulations.
Yeah, same. Congrats to you. That's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, it did in some ways lead me to the path of Kratom,
Yeah.
but that's okay. A lot of us are that way. Finding another excuse to talk about my dog. I adopted him I'd say about 4 years ago now. And
Okay.
it was during COVID. And because it was during COVID, I couldn't go anywhere, including bars. And when things started to open up, I wanted to get the dog out. My dog had like super, like hardcore separation anxiety, and wasn't
Yeah.
anything I could do about it. So I ended up stumbling into a kind of bar that doesn't serve alcohol. It was a kava bar. And so that was
Okay.
like my pathway to kratom. Was I wanted to socialize my dog, and I wanted to go out into the world where it wouldn't be creepy for like me to go talk to people and be like, "Hi, my name's Aaron. Nice to meet you."
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I know
so,
what you mean.
yeah, so that was my journey. That was my initial like first exposure was to kratom in the kava bar that I used to go to. My dog.
Okay. How did your usage progress, and what was your first experience with trying it?
Yeah, I didn't try it for a while. I went to the kava bar for a long time and just had
Just had
kava.
kava? Yeah. Okay.
And I think that's like a common experience for people. I think really kava was my pathway to kratom. I don't hold kava and kratom in the same kind of spirit. I think that they're qualitatively different, although kava isn't perfect, obviously. But for me, it was just initially just like having a couple of the teas that they served with kratom in them, not really even knowing what it was, just my friends were drinking it, so I would drink it. I used to play
Okay.
Magic there at the Kava bar. I used to play Magic the Gathering with my friends, and they would drink
Okay.
it.
Yeah, card game. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would drink it too. And then as I started to hang out there more, it progressed. So I was in graduate school at the time. I was doing my dissertation, and COVID had just opened up. I needed to get out of the house. And so I was like desperate to do that. And so I would go in the morning to the coffee shop and I would write there because I was so much freaking writing, dude.
I bet.
Do not recommend. Yeah. And then that progressed to afternoon is the kava bar, right? Like I can't drink caffeine until 7 p.m. So that was
Yeah.
my rationale is I go there in the morning and then the kava bar in the evening. And of course, oh, wow, this kratom stuff really helps me focus. So I start to drink kratom and then I drink it to support my writing. I used to go there before I was an instructor of record for a course at the university.
Okay.
So I would go there before lecture and have a kratom tea and just not oblivious.
Not
So
thinking
like,
about it. Yeah.
yeah. And then eventually the kava bar fired a bunch of my friends and we all boycotted them because
Okay.
we were mad at them firing our friends. And there happened to be a coffee shop down the street. And oh, they sell kava shots. Oh, awesome. Perfect. So we all start hanging out at that place. And that place sells the kava kratom tonics, which
Okay.
I have no idea. This is before they have kratom listed as an ingredient on the product. So I'm like, oh, it's just a new medium for kava.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so that kind of was my gunner all in first moment when I really started to, oh, this feels really good.
Okay. So it's one of those things that really changed it for you.
Yeah, yeah. And
Okay.
it kept going. I think it took me about a year to really get heavy into the kava kratom tonics. But once I did, I was heavy in them. And this, like all this stuff I was talking about at the kava bar was like in 2020. So this has been a
Yeah.
long-term thing.
Yeah. You
And it's
said
been
2024 is 60 days. So yeah, you've been at it for a while then. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I've been taking those products for longer than I had even realized until I quit, which was really interesting.
Yeah, I felt this. Definitely the same thing happened to me. I was like, why do I keep finding myself back here when I said I wasn't going to be here again? Anyway. All right. So you start taking the tonics. At what point in that journey did you get the aha moment? Oh, I've got a problem, or I think something might be wrong here.
Too long?
Okay.
I'm sure all of us would say that, but I think it was literally years. It was years, which is wild to me. I finished up school and I moved across the country. And so I had this finishing the college, moving across the country, getting married in the short span of time. There was a lot of stressors. I just pushed down and avoid. And I had
Who wants to deal
started
with that, right?
yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. And so I'd started to use powder pretty
Okay.
frequently at my office at work. And I didn't even realize like what I just think I'm taking like, I don't know, like
Like a
chamomile.
supplement or something, or tea or whatever, yeah.
Yeah. And coming off of it, I realized at that point, I didn't realize what was going on. However, I was experiencing acute withdrawals when I wasn't taking it. I just didn't have this mental awareness.
Okay, you didn't even put two and two together.
Yeah, and it took about a year after that for me to put two and two together, and then 2 more years after that to actually quit. So I think for me, the big moment was like with the kava kratom tonics that I took and realizing like I was leaving work to get them. I was like planning my entire life around it. I caught myself lying to my partner without even having the sense that it was bad, which it's like almost unconsciously we know that we're doing something we're not supposed to be, but like it hasn't reached our conscious awareness. And so that was a surreal thing for me where I'm like, I'm lying, but like, why am I lying? Like, I don't,
It
there,
just becomes second nature at some point.
yeah, it's like you must like know deep down inside of yourself that it's an issue. Like, I feel like I was lying before I had that recognition that it was a problem. So it took me a few years to realize it was a problem. And it took me a few years after realizing it was a problem to actually quit, to get off of it, which is wild.
Yeah, you told me you basically quit for all of 2024. So what was like the final thing that made you go, that's it, I'm gonna really do it? And like maybe tell me about that journey.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. In 2023, I had realized that it was a problem, but I had such a hard time doing regulating it. And in fact, my dad, I
Yeah.
have to credit him a lot for this. We went back for Christmas to visit, and my dad has been in recovery and he's a therapist. And I, he saw me buying them and like going out of our way to go buy them at a liquor store. And he is very gentle and kind and loving. And he had a conversation with me, and that helped me realize that it was an
So he could
issue.
see right away what was going on, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's like the pot calling the kettle black. It's like he knows because,
Yeah.
yeah.
You're
So
not
that,
gonna bullshit someone that's been through it.
yeah, exactly. And he was kind about it. But again, it was like, I know this is bad, but it's not affecting my life. I'm not really an addict. My life is going well.
Yeah.
So in 2024, what ended up happening is I again went back for Christmas and we had a conversation. You're still using these? And it's, yeah. And he sent me a bunch of documentation and found some resources for me. I think he might have even pointed me to your podcast, to be honest with you, like back then.
Oh wow.
And
That's cool.
yeah, he's a good guy. We've had our struggles, but he's a good guy. And I came back from Christmas in January 2024, and I quit
Okay.
for 66 days.
Oh, that's a good amount of time, yeah.
But yeah, so here's the thing though, is I didn't really quit. I quit.
You didn't want to quit. You just wanted to say, oh, this isn't a problem for me because I can take X amount of time off. Good now. I can go back to having a couple here or there.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, I think I got off the kava kratom tonics for that 66 days, but I started to use extracts and powder and these other things.
Okay, so you weren't really off it, yeah.
No, because at this point, the tonics are the problem in my mind.
Oh, it's the product, it's not the substance. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's like,
so,
I'm not going to drink wine. I'm going to have because the wine's the problem.
exactly. That's a great parallel, actually. Yeah. And it took a while. So I think by that relapse that I had back to the tonics, I had a very stressful situation come up, a series of very stressful situations that led to it. And then throughout 2024, I had quits that were about 1 to 3 days mostly but like I had about 30 of those 1 to 3 day quits. I was just trying
Oh,
so
God.
hard and failing.
Yeah, that has to be that I did that, but I'd get a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then I'd relapse for a
Yeah.
year or two. It sucked.
Yeah.
It's like putting your body through hell all the time.
Yeah. It's like you're making yourself withdraw like all the time. You're going through acutes. It's crazy. It's the
Yeah.
definition of insanity.
Yeah, did you do the like I used to make sure that I didn't have any at the end of the day because tomorrow I wasn't going to do any, and then I'd get to work and I'd have to leave, or I'd be like working from home and I had to run to the smoke shop because I had to have it.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, I would even had some awareness from that whole of this past year. I would just buy enough for that day. But then the
Yeah.
thing is that you use that just enough, like by lunchtime.
Yeah, I did that too. It's great.
So then you have to go get more.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you have
with
any
that.
consequences with your partner or with you mentioned your dad, but anything else bad happen or
So I don't really make that much money, but I spent about 25% of my salary last year on Kratom tonics or
Okay,
Kratom.
that's a lot of money.
Yeah. And like I said, I don't make much, but it doesn't matter because that's a lot of your like
Yeah.
disposable income.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's money you could spend on doing something nice for your partner or taking your dog somewhere nice or doing all kinds of other things.
Yeah.
What do you think led you to the final point to quit in December of last year and get to this point now?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it also speaks to your question about the symptoms and other things, right? Yeah, I didn't really experience, like, I didn't go to rehab. Like, I didn't have the classic stereotypical rock bottom, although from listening to your show, I know like our rock bottom is just as deep as we decide to dig it.
Yeah. It's yet. I didn't have the yet is the thing with drug and alcohol and kratom addiction. It's
Yeah.
just you can get there. It's just when.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think by like November, December, it's like I had that long quit and I'd gotten there and I went right back. All of the deals that I made with myself, it was just the accumulation of all of that really, okay, like this is it. Like you're like December, like you're quitting, or if you're not, you're going to rehab. I was up to about 4 to 5 a day towards the end,
Okay.
sometimes 6 with some extract and with some powder mixed in, which by the way, I didn't even realize until I got off of it. Like I had no awareness of I tried really hard to be on top of the usage, but it's like we dismiss, so that doesn't really count.
Yeah, you break all your rules you set for yourself because in the moment it's
Yeah.
I'll take less tomorrow because I'm taking more today.
Yeah.
Or I'll not buy some on Thursday and I'll just tough it out for one day and then I'll take more today because of it. It's just you make all these deals and you can never hold up the bargain.
Yeah. And I was incredibly fortunate because my partner is also a therapist. She's a licensed
Oh, wow.
marriage and family therapist. And so she works with ADHD, which I have. And so she has an awareness and an understanding of how people like me function.
Okay.
And so it wasn't any external pressure from any other forces other than coming from within myself and knowing that this was an issue, knowing that it was affecting my ability to be a good partner, knowing that I was burning through money at a time when we really shouldn't be burning through money.
Yeah.
And just the symptoms. I went through withdrawal every day. Like after 5 or 6 hours of my last dose, I was pouring sweat. I was
Same.
shaking. Yeah, isn't that crazy?
It's terrible.
Like, what
It's
do
terrible.
we do why do we do that to ourselves?
It's a terrible way to live. It's no
Yeah.
way to live a life, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was really that was like the tip of the iceberg. But the experiences that leading up to that were like, whatever. But then the accumulation of everything, it was just like, dude, you cannot
You gotta
do
do
that.
it, yeah.
It was just brutal. It was like, oh my gosh, I can't even explain it, honestly.
So how did you do it? How did you get there? What was the first couple days like getting through the acutes, and did you quit cold turkey? Did you taper? Did you get help? Like how did you do it?
Yeah. So my partner had an emergency and she had to fly home. And
I'm sorry.
I knew it was an issue, but it gave me an opportunity to go through without her. And I planned on going cold turkey as a result of that. So
All right.
things unfolded in my life that like led me to the decision I should go cold turkey. And so I went cold turkey, and I honestly, the biggest difference between this quit and any other quit was being a part of our WhatsApp community for this specific product. And then the Signal chat that we have, which is for the There Is a Way Out Kratom sobriety meetings. And
you got some help. That's awesome.
yeah, and that was the difference. And your guys' podcast, honestly, like I started listening to the podcast, and specifically Jimmy Price's 2 episodes about the pseudo-aldoxyl metabolites, and then another one that was about kava and kratom. And like for me, the science, I do science. So like that speaks to my process. And so that was a big thing for me. And that was the push. And then once I was through it, and once I was going through it and experiencing it, I planned I gave my partner all of my money, my credit cards, everything. She flew out of state, so God forbid something bad had happened. But I knew it needed to. Yeah. And so I'm at home with my dog. I took a week off of work because I had to, and I just
you did what you had to do, man.
Yeah, hugged the cactus, dude, and it was awful. It was, and I video recorded the worst of it.
Wow, that's brave. I could never do that. I don't think.
Ain't nobody seeing it except me. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I mean, you got it. So that's.
Yeah. And
Wow.
that helped me in the first 2 weeks. I would watch that. I would watch myself like sobbing uncontrollably. And I even recorded the last few days of my use. I recorded myself growing up when the gross things that I would do while I was taking it. I'm all nasty and it's all over. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
So
did you take anything to help the withdrawals, or any like supplements or anything like that?
Not really. And I know that.
No, it's all good.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people who would emphasize the importance of supplements. I am in this place in my life where I'm like, with few exceptions, it's multivitamins and vitamin C and vitamin D. And I don't know.
I hear you, man. I hear you. I'm not trying to take anything else myself.
It's scary. Yeah.
I've had too many bad experiences.
Yeah, exactly. And part of why I feel like this is an issue in our society is because this thing is classified as a supplement. And the supplement industry is just like, nobody, it's very shady. Regulated. Yeah. So didn't take anything. I mean,
my wife also happens to be a PhD scientist. Probably different than, I know it's different than what you do, but she always says, oh, you just pee a lot of that out anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. What area is she in? Or we can talk about that after if that's
Yeah, we can chat after, but biochemistry.
Okay, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, she's real good at her stuff. I am not a scientist, so I have no idea. 99% of the time when she gets deep into it, but she explains it really well. Anyways, yeah, we can chat after. The listeners probably aren't super interested in that. All right, so what were the first 30 days like once you got past the initial sickness, like once that week was over and you have to get back to real life?
Yeah, I was fortunate in that I think I didn't have to go back to real life as quickly because of the timing.
Oh, good.
My students left that week that I quit. I quit the week my students left, and it was the holiday break. So our campus was closed. The offices were closed.
Oh, that's great.
I was with family for the holidays, like very fortunate to have that. And it feels like I didn't really come back to reality until after 30 days, which I think helped. But I tried to establish routine. I was going to the gym a lot. I was trying to keep myself busy, like I was trying to learn like a Charlie Parker solo from Jazz Guy, like on my bass, like something that's like super hard, but like brain stimulating. And I had a lot of pause, and I still have some pause. Like one time I went to the gym and I'm like, no feel good endorphins. I'm like crying after the gym, and I'm like, what is happening? And again, the community that I'm a part of, I'm able to talk to people and get support for that, which is just invaluable.
Yeah, it's huge. It's such a differentiator There's one thing you said that I wish I heard more on the podcast. There's like these gold mines sometimes that people tap into. And you said, I established a routine. And I think that is so crucial in early sobriety because it really allows you to focus on the things that are important and just establish that routine to set yourself up for success. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy, just a simple routine. I'm going to get up, I'm going to take a shower, go to work. And then when I get off work, I'm going to make dinner or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to go to the gym or I'm going to go for a run in the morning or whatever your routine is. Establishing that is so helpful. So I'm glad that you said that.
Cool. I didn't realize that was a thing, but now I'm glad that I said
No,
it.
it's I don't remember where exactly or what specific recovery program I heard it in, but I've definitely heard it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I think another really big thing is I think exercise is crucial.
Yes,
Um,
I agree.
Yeah. And I think having a plan in place, because I've had moments where I was so close to relapsing, but I made a plan for what I would do if that came up. Like, just drive around the shop for another 5 minutes. Promise yourself that if you drive there, you're just going to do laps for 5 or 10 minutes and hopefully ride it out. And
Yeah.
that kind of thing, I think, is undervalued. Like, having a plan, sticking to it, because cravings are going to come up and they're going to be brutal, and you just gotta ride the wave.
Yeah, you just gotta, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Having a plan for the initial quit and then, yeah, having a plan for how you're going to deal with cravings and having a support system is so critical. You talked a lot about the signal chat and the group and how that was a big differentiator this time. And that's one of the most critical things is that support system. And you talked about a strong family, you've got a partner, all those things. But even if you're struggling, you feel like you're all alone, there's so much support out there. So if you're listening to this episode and that's what you're looking for, we have all kinds of resources in the in the description and on our website. So check those out. Anyway, yeah. So at this point, what are you going to do moving forward? What's your kind of support plan for recovery? Are you still going to the meetings? What's your plan?
Great question. I go to meetings every day, sometimes multiple times a day. I am historically a person that was a part of AA, but
Oh,
I
great.
had a lot of, I don't know, I'm pretty secular, and I felt like at least the context of AA that I was in was a little bit of an old guard, you speak when you've earned it type of environment. And I never loved that. So I never really resonated with AA. And what's wild to me is just how much I do resonate with these Kratom meetings that are online in a way that I never did with AA, which blows my mind. And I feel so thankful to have that. Several people who have come on the podcast, probably a half dozen people, are people I talk to daily who I could hit up at any time if I had cravings. And I'm just so fortunate to have that, and for it to be a community that is very focused on newcomers and people who are in the immediate kind of stages. There isn't that like gatekeeping at all. I've never felt that way. I've always felt like the meetings online are incredibly supportive, incredibly centered on people's struggles as they're going through it. And I love that about it. And that helped me. And it helps me now. Actually, I feel like it helps me now more than it helped me when I was going through acutes, because now I need that reminder. I need to remember that it's so easy to forget, which is crazy. You know what I mean? Like, it hasn't been that
Yeah.
long, you
Yeah.
know?
We talked about it a long time ago now. Charlie and I did a segment on an intro and I don't even know what episode. But anyway, fading effect bias. You remember all the good parts and you can compartmentalize and forget all the shit that comes with it. Cause it's never going to be, I'm going to go and buy one of the little kava kratom drinks and take it. And then I'm going to feel great. And then I'm going to have a great day. And I'm not ever going to touch it for another month. And then everything's going to go, no, you're going to have one. And in 3 hours, you're going to be shaky and antsy and you're going to be back there buying 4 or 5 and telling yourself, okay, tomorrow I'm not going to have any. And then you're going to be justifying why a relapse is okay. And then God only knows what happens next. So it's the same story every time.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say every time. Maybe it won't be for you. You're the lucky one. But or unlucky one, depending on how you look at it and where you are with your recovery and what you want to have in your life. But
Yeah.
it's just important to think about that. And like you said, like that plan that I do the same thing when I get a craving. I always just sit down and I say, all right, if I feel the same way in 5, 10, 15 minutes, maybe I'll act on it. And in 6 years of not drinking and almost 2 years of no kratom, I have yet to act on it. So I think
Yeah.
that's really important.
And what's beautiful is that voice that was a screaming voice of you need to take it, you need to take it. It's a whisper, and it's that dude's an asshole. Whereas before
Yeah.
you thought that dude was like your best friend. So not only is it whispering, but it's also you were like, I know what this is, I know who you are, which is empowering and helpful, I think, for mitigating cravings and that type of stuff.
I agree. I used to be like, oh, tomorrow Jacob will deal with that. He'll have to deal with the thing that he did today. And now I'm really nice to that guy. I don't put him in that position where he's got to deal with the crippling withdrawals or hangovers.
Yeah.
If at all
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you mentioned you have a dog. What is your dog's name?
My dog's name is Chip. I wanted a dog for a long time, and none of the rescues would give me one. And ironically, the shelter gave me the dog that needed like the most support. Like he was severely underweight. He was bald. We thought he was
Oh,
a
wow.
Mexican hairless when we got him.
Really?
And
Wow.
yeah, and he was $60, and I took him home. And I think for me, it was a healing process of working through my own trauma or feelings of neglect or
Yeah.
whatever that I'd experienced. And it was very therapeutic. And in my big relapse after 66 days in March of last year was when I found out he needed surgery, ACL surgery. It's a CCL in dogs, but it was a major orthopedic surgery. And so it goes to show you that like our own feelings of connection with our dogs or family can drive our relapse, and it's an important thing to remember.
Yeah, it is an important thing to remember. I'm glad he's doing okay, and I think you got the dog you needed. Yeah,
I did.
my dog had to have eye surgery in May, so I know how you're feeling about that. It can be stressful.
They
All
come
right,
back. They bounce back.
Yeah, they do bounce back. Yeah, and my dog's getting up there now, so she hung on pretty well. All right, how would you describe your life now that you're kratom free?
No, that's a good question. It's a complicated question. I'll try to keep it short. I think that it's more honest, and I think it's more sincere, and I think that it's sometimes harder, but I think that overall it's easier and better and more fulfilling and more rewarding. And I've had to face uncomfortable truths about myself, about my history, and reflecting on my past. And I just have I have a crazy character backstory, like really crazy. Like I dropped out of high school and I like do what I do now.
Oh, wow.
So there's a whole host of things that led to that and followed from that. And for me, this whole feeling of I don't deserve to be here, I don't belong, whatever, all those ridiculous thoughts are things that I pressed down with substances. And now the journey is I can actually work through this. And that's been for me this journey of now that I'm off of it. I think it's like a car. Like all my trauma was like a car. I went to therapy for 5 years. I fixed it. It's fine. Don't need to deal with this anymore, even 5 years later. And it's like, you don't just fix the transmission. Like you gotta take the car in to get serviced. And I wasn't servicing the car. And so the car was getting fucked up. I don't know.
You're good. You can.
Yeah. So that was the process. And that's been what I've had to go through and work through now. But it's also very empowering and healing, but at times very hard. And I've had a lot of pause, and that's made things more complicated too. But it's definitely better than when I was using.
No, that's a really honest and really good answer. Life is ups and downs. It's not going to be great all the time. But when it is great and you're sober, it's a lot better than when you're out of your mind and you can't even enjoy it because you're worried about whatever lie you told about whatever other thing you shouldn't have been doing or whatever else is on your mind.
Yeah.
So it's a lot better on the other side.
Absolutely.
All right. What would be your top tip for someone that's getting ready to quit Kratom?
Would it be too like brown nosing to say listening to your podcast?
No, it wouldn't be, but
Okay.
no, that's great.
That might be one of the top for me.
All right.
I binge listened to your podcast during acutes. The podcast and then the support community, I think, together, which I lump together, but just like the community of people who have struggled through it, connecting with that and listening and being honest with yourself, I think the number one most valuable thing. And that's the thing I would suggest to anybody is it's like this is a thing that it's really hard to find people who understand. You've been through something that is so unique, that is so niche, and it's an opioid, but like also it's not heroin, but also it's sure as hell ain't caffeine like the AKA says. And it's not alcohol. And so it's really hard to get a sense or get a feeling of support or connection. And it exists. It's just that you have to search for it. And it's the podcast, it's the support community, it's the recovery meetings, it's all of that stuff. So I would suggest leaning into that and connecting with people.
That's a great tip. You said one thing that was also another really good thing, and another good tip is that you have to be honest with yourself. Until you're honest with yourself, you can't be honest with anybody else. You're not going to be able to get sober if you're not honest with yourself, because all those deals and all those things that you're lying to yourself about, that has to end, or else you're not going to be successful. So that was a really good tip as well. But yeah, the community is huge. There's so much support out there. Reach out if you're feeling alone. And addiction can be very isolating in and of itself. But as you said, especially something that isn't as well known or as prevalent as a lot of other addictive substances.
Yeah, you said it better than I did. So I appreciate the clarity that you added to that.
I've done a few of these, so I can summarize some thoughts sometimes. Anyways, I'm trying. Is there an answer to a question that I didn't ask you that you'd want to share with the audience before we wrap up today?
I guess quickly, I would say that I do really believe in the connection between our early life experiences and the way that we approach the world today. That's where my area of specialization is like early childhood development. And so I think a lot about that, but I don't think about it enough in my own life. And when I do, I start to realize connections. And I think that insight doesn't necessarily lead to action, but it can help support your action in quitting, right? Just because something is not going to change anything about your use or your addiction or your struggles. But having that insight can inform or shape or support or augment your efforts to quit. And I think that I would encourage everybody to have that awareness and do that work on themselves. And it's a lot easier to do when you're off of it. It's impossible to do when you're on Kratom. So that would be my big one thing I would like to add.
Yeah, that's a great thing to add, and I think to end on, you had said earlier too about you have to keep maintaining the car when referring to yourself and your mental health, and I agree. I had a similar trajectory with therapy and going in and out, and it wasn't actually until this last year that I really did some deep work and got to the root of some things. And I, like you, I thought I had done that work already, and now I know there's a lot more work to do. So it's really important, and it does, but you can't do that until you get the Kratom problem sorted out. So you got to do that first.
Yeah.
Anyway, Eren, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate the time. This is a really great chat, and I think the listeners are going to love it. But thank you so much.
I appreciate that. Thanks for hearing me out. And Mr. Talk, I'm a talker, so you did great handling me.
Oh, you did fine. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you.